Hello, friends, campers, and friendly campers. Welcome to my first video in what I intend to be a series with the theme of non-permanent camper mods. So I have some self-imposed guidelines for how I approach my mods. I like to do relatively simple things that improve my functionality or quality of living. I don't want them to be permanent in any way. So no holes, no damage when they're reversed. I need to be able to set it back to factory relatively easily. And that's important to me because this is my second camper, and I traded the first one in about 3.5 years. So one of the things that the dealership was really interested in is whether I had modified anything. And I like the design of my Soul Horizon and what the factory did to it. So I really don't want to change the design at all. I think my last guideline is that the mods have to be sturdy and look good. You know, it's one thing to stick something on a wall, but if it falls off in a month, that's not a very good mod to me. So what I do, I want to last until I remove it. So with that said, I will get started with this, and I'll also let you know this is my first video. It's not going to necessarily be like other improvement videos on the internet, but if you want to imagine a 2-minute annoying theme song right now, you can do that if it'll make you feel more comfortable. So my first mod, it involves my carbon monoxide LP gas detector. This is my bed, and down there is the detector. And when you're moving back and forth, you occasionally, or anyone will occasionally, kick that thing. And that thing does not like being kicked. And it starts screaming at you. So first of all, it's loud. Second, even though you know you just kicked it, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, do I have a dangerous gas leak? And it takes a couple of minutes for it to stop. So my goal is to put a cage around it and kick the cage instead of that. And I don't want the cage to stick out too much. I still want to be able to see the light, and obviously it needs to be able to breathe. So I came up with a solution involving mostly spare parts. I'm going to put the camera down so that you can actually focus in on the work. Okay, now that I'm in work position, a couple of things. You need a screwdriver. I use a power screwdriver because it just makes my life easier. Since the floor is hard, I have something to kneel on, just a folded up blanket. And I have a tape measure here just so I can show you the parts that I'm using. So the first part is a RV insect screen that you typically put over the outside ports. I believe this one is, let's see, it's a little over about 4.5 inches square. There might be a better fitting one, but I know this thing is about 4 inches wide, so it does cover it widthwise. And I had this one, so I didn't have to go buy another one. The next thing that you need is you need replacement screws. So this is one of the screws I took out. It's basically a very short drywall screw. The short is not important here. What's important is it's also a very thin drywall screw. And part of my non-destructive mods philosophy is I don't even want to make a screw hole bigger, because when I reverse this whole thing, I want to put these factory screws back in. And so therefore I had to find thin drywall screws. Now I happen to have a bucket of leftover screws that I keep, and I dug through it and I found some that were long enough for the job. These are about 2.25 inches, but if you don't happen to have a bucket of screws like I do, just go to your Ace Hardware and bring one of the existing screws and tell them you need about a 2 1/4 inch screw the same width. I've already tried this, so I know it works. And the nice thing is there's 2 screws holding this in, so you can take one out and bring it with you. So with that, I think the last thing that I needed was something that will allow this surface-mounted detector to be held in place with the single screw that's also going to hold the screen. And I experimented with a few different things. My first approach was, again, looking through old parts bins I had. I found like drywall anchors, cut the head off of them. What you're really looking for is something that when you put the screw in, it goes through, but it holds. I didn't like this when I did it because you could actually see these tan things through there, and I want the stuff to look good, and it looked a little hacky. So this is the only thing I actually had to go buy was these little rubber grommets, and this was the bag. The key part about it was that it had a 1/8 inner diameter. I got these in the parts bins at Lowe's. I got 2 of them. So with that, I'm going to take out the 1 screw still left holding it in. Obviously save this screw so I can put it back. You can see this thing is just surface mounted. Now, as far as where to put this screen, you'll see that the screen just fits over it, but I want to get this thing as low as possible. So looking where the screw holes are, that kind of suggests putting the 2 screws in the upper third. And I've already done this once before, so I'll save you the trouble that I went through, realizing that you need to put the screws right towards the edge, so that where in the edge, I'm saying where it goes from the surface, returns back, put it right at that edge, keep them in a line. So these are the 2 places I'm going to put the screw, and hopefully, the nice part is that these screws are also thin enough that they don't really distort this screen, and the screen actually holds them in place, which makes the whole job easier. So once I get the 2 screws through, then you take the 2 rubber grommets. You probably thread it on about, I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch like that, maybe a little more if I'm going to need it. And I need the other one. And thread that one on. And now comes the fun part, which is trying to line all this up. And what I found is that you get one through, get the other through, make sure that you can feel the point of the screw coming through the back so you can find the pilot hole in the wooden cabinet, and if not, thread your rubber grommet on a little bit more, but don't thread it on so far because you need that rubber grommet to hold this tight. So with that said, I get one of the things lined up with the pilot hole, and then try to get the other one lined up. This is by far the hardest part about this, is all the fiddliness going on to try to make this work. If you get one screw in a little bit, it helps hold that other side up, but don't tighten it because you need it loose to find the other side, which is kind of what I'm doing right here. And also, if things aren't working, you may have not put the screws in the right spot in the screen, so you may have to adjust that. Fortunately, I think I got it. Tighten this up a bit. And tighten this one up. And try to get it level as you're cranking down on it. But what I feel I've accomplished now is this thing's on pretty good. I don't want to get it too tight, but it's tight enough, it's not going anywhere. And you can't really kick this thing and set it off. I mean, I suppose if I really wailed on it, it would go off. But normal tapping your foot into it will not set it off like it used to. And with that, that wraps my first video. Thank you all.